This episode of WDW Today is being sponsored by All-Star Vacation Homes. And the next time you're considering a trip to Walt Disney World and want a lot of extra space for you where you're going, maybe you're going down in the fall and say, I'm going to Walt Disney World, but I don't want to miss the big game, and the idea of being squished into the ESPN Club doesn't really excite me. Why not watch the big game while you're at Walt Disney World in your All-Star Vacation Home on a huge TV in your own movie theater room? Comfy leather seats for everybody there, the big game on the screen. I can't do anything about the Steelers, but you know what? At least the game will look awesome, even if your team doesn't. Give them a try. Visit them online at www.allstarvacationhomes.com.
This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes, and we'll give you the world.
It's Friday, October 2nd, 2009, and this is episode 625 of WDW Today. I'm Matt Hochberg of StudioCentral.com. Joining me on today's show is Mike Scopa, a senior feature writer and blogger for allears.net. Welcome, Mike.
Did you forget to turn off those robots?
Test track.
Test track.
Good.
Test track. Test track.
Also joining us on today's show is Len Testa, co-author of The Nuptial Guide to Walt Disney World. And Len, our listeners want to know when that Test Track single is going to be coming out.
You know, it was all set to have Kanye produce it, but dude, I so totally can't do that now. I'm thinking duet with Taylor Swift though.
Very nice. That's, of course, for those who don't understand, that's a reference to Magic Meets 08. Yes.
And in the video, Megan Fox will be in the video, right?
Exactly. She's no Angelina Jolie.
Also joining us on today's show. Well, that's an older reference right there.
Thanks.
Also joining us on today's show is the fabulous Annette Owens, a manager of customer relations and group services for MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. Welcome, Annette.
Hey guys, happy Friday.
Woohoo! And joining us on today's show, we also have a special guest. It's Henry Work, a developer for touringplans.com. Welcome to the show, Henry.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
You've got a lofty goal to reach. I mean, the bar's been set pretty high by Mr. One Fred Hazelton. So,
I know, Superfan 99. It's a tough act to
You're
follow.
going to have some big shoes to fill, my friend. Canadian ones at that.
Yeah, Canadian shoes, they're in metric sizes, so they're automatically bigger. And they're furry on the inside.
So Henry has to be taller. He just has to be taller, though.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely taller.
Good night.
Well, on today's show, we brought Henry on to talk about something he recently did, something that a very, very hard thing to do, and Henry attempted the ultimate touring plan to the Magic Kingdom. So before we even talk to Henry, Len, let's talk about what is the ultimate touring plan to the Magic Kingdom and talk about why it is so ambitious.
So the Ultimate Magic Kingdom touring plan is a touring plan that encompasses every attraction, show, parade, firework, live entertainment, and a lot of character greetings in the Magic Kingdom in a single day. So depending on how many attractions and rides are open, it's anywhere from 45 to 52 or 53 things in one day. It's grueling. The idea came about when we were first developing the touring plan software for the book, and Bob had this line in the book prior to like 2003 that said that no matter what, even if you could have zero wait at all of the attractions, you couldn't see everything in the Magic Kingdom in one day. So we were sitting in Bob's dining room in Alabama one day, testing out the software, and Bob said, "Hey, just for kicks, put everything in there and see what happens." And it actually came out with a plan, and it said it could be done. But we weren't really sure if that was if the data was right, if the touring plan was right. So we put a note, I think it was a 2003 or 2004 edition, and we said, look, the software thinks you can do it. If you want to give this a shot, we'll give you the touring plan for free. Just let us know if you want to do it. And so it turns out that the first guy to attempt it was a guy named Ed Waller, who teaches at the University of Houston, who happens to be a marathon runner. So he was perfectly suited. He was like who's the guy that broke the 4-minute mile? Roger Bannister.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. It was an old running buddy of Scopus. So it was like having Roger Bannister test out your shoes, So he did it actually. He did it in I think it was like 40 some attractions in around 11 hours. The interesting thing was we had done spreadsheets and everything ahead of time. It was almost like we were tracking a space shuttle launch, because we knew about where the computer program thought he was going to be at various points of the day, and he was keeping in touch with us via cell phone. And by like He was doing it on some day, I think a day in February. By 11 a.m., we knew that he had got through all of the big attractions, and everything left was essentially constant wait stuff. So we knew he was going to do it. So by 11 a.m., we knew he was going to do it. It was a really good feeling that day, actually. So the record's actually been broken a number of times since then. We've had families do it. We've had groups do it. We've had individuals do it. But the one thing they have in common, the people who are generally the most successful happen to be marathon runners. I don't know whether that says anything about it or not.
I know, Len, that one time I was down there, 2004, 2005, I think it was, either 5 or 6. I was getting ready to do Race for the Cure, and a couple of people came up to me and said, "Are you Mike?" Yeah. Len said to look for you, that you'd help us. We're going to do the Ultimate Touring plan tomorrow, and he said, you could give us some tips. And I'm thinking, holy crap, I'm going to kill Testa,
Don't.
So what I did, Len, is I immediately made up. I said, okay, well, here's one. If you go on the train, what you want to do is you want to sit in the last car on the train if you're going to get off at the stop at Main Street USA. And they said, why? Well, if you're in the last car, then you're right near the exit. So you get off the train and you go right down and oh wow, that's a great idea. I said, yeah, I think Len mentioned it to me. So yeah, I remember a whole bunch of runners coming up to me that year and saying, Len said you could give us some tips.
So the current record right now is 52 attractions in 11 hours and 15 minutes by Ryan May and Jeannie Matuski. I think I mispronounced her name. But if to put that in perspective, their average wait per attraction was less than 4.5 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Didn't go in the summer, now did they?
When did they go? No, they went in January. But that being said,
last week in January.
So we've had people set records on July 5th, on July 3rd,
wow,
on July 4th.
Really?
But, August.
They are running some children over.
No, it's a testament to how efficient the Touring Planet software is.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah,
It has nothing to do with knocking people out of the way.
Very little. Anyway.
Now Henry attempted this, and now Henry, unfortunately, you weren't able to do all of it, but you did have quite an experience from it. So let's talk about Henry. What when you attempted it, talk a little bit about the experience as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was pretty cool to, go to Disney World. Like I've probably gone once a year since I was a kid, and to add another layer of a challenge to sort of take your experience to the next level. So it was pretty cool to want to just experience everything, but also to sort of try to do all these optimizations on the fly. So yeah.
What now tell us, was this by yourself an attempt solo? Did you try it with someone else?
Right, yeah. So it was me and my father, Stuart Work of Columbia, Maryland, and we are not marathon runners. We're a bit crazy, I guess, but we decided to do this. There was one day in our trip, we had about a 6-day trip, and there was one day where the Magic Kingdom was open for 14 hours. It had a extra magic morning. And so we thought that at least we could survive and do, a significant portion of it, and, also try to see if we could go for the record.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about your day at the Magic Kingdom and trying this. Tell us how you got started here, and what was your first real issue or challenge that arose?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest lessons that I think is to follow the plan, and more than that, to know the plan. So one of the big things that I did was we printed out a bunch of copies of it, but also we just went through it a bunch of times. There are actually attractions in which I didn't know where they were in the Magic Kingdom before we attempted it. And so, a couple of days before we sort of scoped them out, we walked through Toontown a couple times, and I didn't know where Storytime with Belle was exactly. And so finding the locations helped a lot. And also I think, one good thing that we did was we, printed out a list of all the show times and made sure that, we actually checked Steve Soares' site, which is a great resource. 'Cause if you wait till the day, where you get the little time card. Some of the things that Len has you do on the plan are not actually listed on that. So they're sort of non-published showtimes, and you have to make sure that you hit all of them. I mean, there's only one, 3:00 parade, but there is 6 or 7 pirate tutorials. So you can be flexible with the pirate tutorial, but not really flexible with the 3:00 parade.
Okay. What do you think was the biggest challenge? What was the hardest thing that came about in the whole plan?
Yeah, so probably the big thing was continuous shows. So not the shows that you knew when to hit the times, but it was really the things like PhilharMagic and Country Bear Jamboree. And so basically we had to always think a few steps ahead and be willing to call audibles, I guess. So like if you make it to Hall of Presidents, 1 minute or 3 minutes before the show, you want to go on it. But if you make it 2 minutes after they just started one, you don't want to sit there for 17 minutes or whatever till the next one. You want to head somewhere else. And so I think getting that right, especially in the afternoon, was particularly important. It's interesting, sort of. I felt like the day got sort of broken up into 3 sections. The morning was hitting all the headliners and making sure that you hit the rides that were going to have significant wait times later in the day. But then the afternoon switched into a whole nother game where it was making the shows that like Pirates Tutorial, Storytime with Belle, Dream Along with Mickey, hitting those at the right times and making sure that you just sort of like always had something to do in case if there was a long line or some kind of, like you get stuck behind the parade or something. And then the evening was more sort of dumb luck. Like once you have only a few attractions left, you have to sort of, you're going to go to the railroad and you're going to have to hope that you're not waiting for 15 or 20 minutes before it gets to the station.
Len, in terms of when other people have tried this, and they've reported back to you, is what Henry is mentioning, are these typical things that other people that have tried this have reported back to you?
Yeah, it's generally the experience of everyone that you have to be willing to change the order of some of the attractions a little bit based upon whether you've, for example, just missed the opening or closing of a particular show. So if you've just missed the start of, to Henry's point, Hall of Presidents, it's difficult to predict that ahead of time. We did with the touring plan. The other thing is, so people have to be flexible on that. The other thing that people typically that trips people up is if they're on an attraction early in the morning and it breaks down. Like I've done a Magic Kingdom touring plan before where I've been stuck on Dumbo, which is the first attraction of the day. And if you're on it for even 3 or 4 minutes, the additional compounding minutes that you lose because there are other people filling up the park is essentially enough to end your day. There's you really at this point so many people have tried the Ultimate Magic Kingdom touring plan, and they've really narrowed it down so much that everything has to go right for you to be able to break the record. I mean,
so if you are if you're trying to do this and let's say you look at your watch and it's 10 o'clock, does the plan say you should have done so many by 10 o'clock?
We give guidelines. Like for Henry's attempt, I actually had a spreadsheet out, and I had filled in the time at which the previous record holders, so Ryan and Jeannie, had done their attractions, and I was giving Henry a play-by-play as to how far ahead or behind schedule he was. So I actually had that. The plan doesn't do that because I think it'd probably be too much information for you to keep up with as you're going along. But yeah, definitely I can do it.
Yeah, so one of the interesting snafus that we had, we were lucky in the sense that nothing broke down while we were there. But Space Mountain and TTA were closed, so this was late August. I did it on August 27th, and that was great in some ways because we didn't have the Space Mountain crowd queue to worry about. But they actually the very first 2 things on the plan say go to Dumbo. You have to be you have to be on the first ride on Dumbo.
Yeah, you really have to be.
The second thing is to go straight to Astro Orbiter, which are the 2 very lowest capacity rides in the park. But our mistake was that typically Astro Orbiter is open during extra morning magic hours, but because Space Mountain was closed, they actually closed off the entire Tomorrowland. So we walked to Tomorrowland only to be stopped by cast members, and we had to turn back around. I mean, we only lost like 3 or 4 minutes, but as Len says, the sort of compounding effect made us later have a little bit longer wait at Peter Pan, and then we had to hustle to get to Frontierland, stuff like that.
So was it that point really even just the extra magic hour morning that you realized it wasn't going to work in order for you to do everything in one day, or did that realization not come until later in the day?
Yeah, so we weren't really sure because we hadn't done it before, but the other big mistake I guess it was a mistake. So typically, one of the rules that I would say is you never underestimate the main street vehicles. They're very randomly sort of done, and you always want to make sure to get on a bus instead of a horse. I've read that because sometimes the horse you have to take a round trip. And sometimes, the horse carriages have to stop because the horse is tired. So on our day, we had heard mostly that they closed before noon, but on our day, we're pretty sure that they closed before 10:30. That's so right, because there's the Dream Along with Mickey is the show out front of the castle, and when that's going, it seemed like the cars can't go around the hub. And so that was probably our biggest technical flaw because that's literally an attraction. We asked a bunch of cast members throughout the day. Seeing if it was going to come back up, and they said it probably wouldn't. And then our other big mistake was we were too greedy, and we tried to fit as much into Fantasyland as we could. And we didn't get to Toontown Hall of Fame right when Toontown opened. And so the line for the princesses and the fairies was probably about 10 or 15 minutes longer than it could have been.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that was
I just can picture Henry standing there with all those little girls. And he's like almost 7 feet tall for people that have never met Henry. That had to be hysterical. And you were there with your dad, so he has to be a tall gentleman too.
He's pretty tall, yeah. So it was we felt a little bit out of place, but I mean, then we were just cursing Len. It's not like we were.
Yeah, well,
we were just pawns in some bigger game. So
there you go.
What?
Oh, and then tell him about Pete's Garage.
Oh right, so Len,
you were mad at me, and I'm like, no, seriously, that counts.
So, a bunch of the attractions in Toontown are walkthrough. So Donald's boat is on the plan, and you literally, it's just a boat with some water, spritzing around. And so we just walked through the boat, then we walked out. So it's, entry time at, 10:52 and exit time at 10:52. But because things were closed and we couldn't hit the main street vehicles, Len asked me to go see Pete's Garage, which really isn't an attraction. It's just a building. A building.
And a bathroom.
Right. But we went there. We experienced it, which is the important part.
Now, without getting too graphic, do you have to take a bathroom break? And how does how does lunch work? How does all that work out for you?
Well, so
do you have to take a bathroom break?
Well,
you're in the park all day and you're not allowed one?
Well, no, maybe I don't know if it's in the plan. Let me put it that way.
Well, there ain't no sit-down meals on the plan. Let's put it that way.
Right. So I mean, most of we didn't hold it or anything. We had to, and when we ate, we mostly ate counter service, and we sort of, I don't know if this is fudging the rules or not. Len could be the referee, but we would be like watching the parade and eating. So so that's sort of how, like, I think we got hot dogs at a very, like, a zero weight at like Tony's Corner. So that was pretty quick.
Okay.
And also, you're stuck on Tom Sawyer's Island as part of the plan for 15 minutes. So
stuck.
You get to experience the joy of Fort Langhorne and Tom Sawyer's Island. And so that was a good bathroom break. And one other thing that's a good point, I think, is like Scopa says, is you really need to know the rides and the queues. So there are a few things that you can do to sort of optimize your time on the ride and therefore getting off of it quicker. So like the classic example is like Hall of Presidents or Country Bear Jamboree. Like, take the time to sit all the way closest to the exit so that you're not sort of stuck behind people as you scurry off right at the end of it. And then another good one is Haunted Mansion. So if you know the stretch rooms really well, you can stand at the part where the door opens up after the sequence and then rush off to get on the Omnimover section the quickest. And therefore, if you're the first on the Omnimover, you're the first off. And that saved us probably a few minutes as well.
What was the most surprising thing for you coming out of this? Looking back on it now, what really surprised you the most from this attempt?
I think it's just the sheer, I definitely experienced a bunch of attractions I've never experienced before. I mean, there are a few that I don't really like to experience, so I don't. But also, I'm surprised at how many shows like the Magic Kingdom actually pulls off in a single day. Yeah. Like looking at the schedule and seeing that they do, 6 pirate tutorials and 6 story time with bells every single day, and then seeing the Frontier Hoedown for the first time. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that. I thought that was pretty cool. typically, I'm off writing headliners, so it was really cool to see things, forcibly see things that you hadn't before.
That's the thing. I think that's one of the benefits of the plan too. Everyone thinks you're running from attraction to attraction, and you are. But if you really want to see the scope and scale of the Magic Kingdom, and you want to have a little bit of a challenge or a little bit of fun while you're doing it, there's no better way to do it.
Absolutely. So now, last question for you, Henry. Are you going to try it again?
Well, yeah. So it's I think Len and I are going to scheme to try to see if I can attempt one in Disneyland. I'm from California. I live in California now, so it's easier for me to get down there, which is going to present a lot more interesting problems. There are many more attractions in Disneyland, and there are many more headliners that have long standby lines. But if I go again, I think I definitely want to try it again in Magic Kingdom at least once.
Cool. Well, thank you, Henry, for sharing your experience. And
absolutely,
second time's the charm, is what I hear.
Yes.
Very good. And don't forget that this episode has been sponsored by All-Star Vacation Homes. And after a long day at the Magic Kingdom of trying to do every single attraction and, including all that beautiful time at Tom Sawyer's Island, you're probably going to want to go back to your room afterwards and take a nice, long, relaxing break, maybe even for a day. And, what better place than an All-Star Vacation Home? I mean, you're going to have your own private pool with no annoying kids except your own annoying kids, full amenities, your own private bedroom for everybody. Lots of great things that only an All-Star Vacation Home can get you for a fraction of the price of the same type of amenities if you were to stay on Disney World property. Give them a try. Visit them at www.allstarvacationhomes.com. You can find our older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments. Visit the WDW Today website at wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, Mike Newell, the fabulous Annette Owens, and Henry Work, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.
Stupid Judy, stupid energy.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.